What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Touchback Tuesday, Week 7. Week 7 recap. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, our team, the Buffalo Bills, on a bye week, so we got to kind of pay more attention to the rest of the league. You know, I had
Take
Red
a little
Zone
break.
up. You know, I won every single fantasy match this week too.
I did.
One DraftKings.
I think I won all but one. Yeah.
Private DraftKings league, ESPN fantasy. And I have a guillotine league, which is like, you know, if you get the least amount of points in the group, you survive, right? But I was number 1.
What? Don't you have Herbert though?
I do, but I picked up Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. I'm stacked at running. Josh Jacobs.
Right.
So
and in this league, once those players are gone from the lowest scoring team, you can pick them up. Yeah.
Right.
So your team's getting better, presumably, as it goes on.
Pretty fun, but to win all 3, you're like, ooh, trifecta. It just feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, tons of fun there. Spent a lot of time with family. You know, nice little Sunday afternoon. A little low stress, right?
Yes. Yep. So, got to do stuff with Kathy and Logan this weekend because, you know, I wasn't watching the Bills game or stressed about the Bills game or decompressing after the Bills game. So, you know, it frees up a whole day. It was pretty nice. And I still got to watch football. So,
yeah, I think the biggest topic is probably upsets. Carolina, right? The Commanders, if you want to call that an upset. I think so. I don't know if you would, but I think for most people, that's an upset. The Commanders beating the Packers. And also the Jets win again and the Giants win again.
Yep. Giants keep finding a way to win. And that's all that matters. Although it's when it comes down to it, they're not going to be able to beat. We'll talk more about that soon. But I think, it was fun. It was a fun weekend of football. Lots of good games to watch. Lots of good action. Upsets are always interesting, closer games than many thought were going to be. The Panthers are probably the biggest story of the weekend, or vice versa. Not so much the Panthers winning, it's Tampa Bay losing to the Panthers.
Right.
So, yeah, after trading McCaffrey and they got nothing left. Yeah, it's quite
PJ Walker, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He may be the starter moving forward, right?
He has to be right now, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam Darnold, if he comes back, you're going to put Sam Darnold out there with no question mark?
Yeah, I think you've seen enough of him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah. Big weekend. We got, Sterling, I think, bought Call of Duty, so he's done for the night. He has work obligations, so he'll be joining us next week. Yeah, he's taking a bye week himself, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's
all right.
Bills are on bye, so is Sterling.
Yeah. Yep. So I got to get the Call of Duty, but if I'm not here for the next couple weeks, it's because I bought Call of Duty.
Hey, where'd the Hoof go? I don't know. Yeah. I showed up. I just don't run the show. He runs the show. I just show up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if we don't get on the show and talk, though, I feel like something's missing. I got to let it out. I enjoy doing the research part.
Right.
I enjoy talking about it, just having fun with it. So
I did have a lot to say in our group chat this week, didn't I?
Yeah.
We'll get to that too. Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I thought you were I don't know what happened. I thought your house burned down or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'll read it to everybody here. Effing Dolphins. Mother effing. I'm not even gonna say this word.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you can't.
Bad face like times 30.
Yeah.
They didn't kick a field goal to go up 9 at the end of the half. Cost me $700 in potential parlay winnings. Fuck.
And more than that. It ended up being
I had them
more
at
than
-7. Oh my God, I've never been so angry at a bet. What the fuck?
Yeah.
They won 16-9.
I've never been so angry. As a gambler, you have to realize when you're a gambler, you're putting your money at risk. So if you lose it, you can't get angry. You don't get angry. Okay, that part of it is figuring out I have this much to bet, and if I lose it, what's going to happen, right? If I win it, that's exciting, and I think I'm going to win it. That's why I'm a gambler. But I've never been so angry at losing, because it was 3 different parlays that I had in my pick 6. I had a 3-game parlay, I had a 2 4-game parlays actually, and a 5-game parlay, and they all would have hit if the Dolphins kicked a field goal when they should have, instead of going for it on 4th and 3. 4th and 3, it's like, and you were already up by 6. It's like, dude, go up by 9. There is no reason to not kick this field goal. 4th and 3. It wasn't like it was 4th and inches, and you're like, oh, if we push him forward, he'll get it.
Yeah, take the 2-score game. You got a rookie quarterback.
Play. Oh my God.
Because
losing yardage.
By not getting it though, you're at risk to lose the game.
Right. If you get
one pick six or something like that, so
make it a 2-score game. That's why there's no logical way. I think that was his first big mistake as a head coach, like major mistake in my mind. There's no logical reason to not go up 2 scores. It doesn't make sense in that situation.
But I watched Miami early on. They looked great in that game.
Yes, the they scored really quick.
So
I thought, this is
mid-third quarter, I kind of fell asleep.
I even told Kathy, I'm like, I'm going to win this. It's going to be a good one.
But then, like, when I fell asleep and I woke up in the morning, and I'm like, they probably won by, a couple scores, but it's the same score. So I'm like, you didn't do anything from the time.
Second half, they ran the ball and punted, and more punts and more punts.
Yeah, so they just ran out of speed there. But
all right, let's bad.
We'll get into more of that later. But let's get into recap week 7. A lot of storylines coming out. A lot of things to get to tonight. We got an action-packed show here. We got a lot of topics to cover. I'll try to get them in so we can get to the Monday night game and watch New England lose.
Hopefully.
Jump in here. First thing I want to talk about is injuries. Tons of injuries this week. And this happens every year, too. It's like there's a single week in the NFL where many, many players, dozens of players go out. And this is certainly one of those weeks. And a lot of notable players, Breece Hall comes to mind. Young rookie for the Jets, second-round pick. Was really playing well for them, starting to get some momentum. Teams winning, that certainly helps. Tears his ACL. He's done for the season. Definitely a top candidate for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he was. I mean, and unfortunately now this probably takes him out of that because he only played in so many games, but he was, super hot through all those games. Even in this game, he had a long touchdown and then gets hurt, which is really, really sad to see. You don't want to see that with any young guy, especially one who was starting out so hot and felt like he was riding the wave and now gone for the season. Most likely, I don't know if they confirmed, but it was there. Everything's been flying around today that it was most likely out for the season. So brutal that, and he's been such a centerpiece of why the Jets have started doing really well. They've been giving him the ball more, allowing him to make big plays both in the pass game and with the run. So it's disappointing to see a player of that caliber go down in the NFL, a young player who everybody's probably excited to watch. I was excited to see him play our Bills and be like, okay, and we heard a lot about this running back in particular from our former network that we podcasted with because there were a lot of fans of him there. I was not one of them, just so you know. Not at least for the Bills.
Yeah, I think a lot of Bills fans were high on him. A lot of people in the NFL were high on him. He's the
absolutely
top running back. I mean, Kenny Walker. A lot of people had Kenny Walker, who's now with Seattle, also playing extremely well. He was probably ahead of Breece Hall, but the Bills liked him Bills fans liked him because he could catch the ball in the backfield. Right, he did that a lot more than Kenny Walker. But Elijah Vera Tucker down as well with an elbow. That hurts the Jets as well.
Their defense,
Corey Davis,
has been playing very well. Yeah,
Corey Davis out as well with an MCL sprain. I mean, that's going to be pretty significant for him. Other names around the NFL: DK Metcalf, knee injury. J.C. Jackson, another guy looks like he's going to be out for the year.
Oh, really? I didn't think it was that. He's out for the year. Yeah,
it says significant. I mean,
significant.
You'd have to get into maybe some local reporters at least actual.
5-6 weeks.
Ian Rappaport says significant injury. I think I saw dislocated kneecap.
Oh,
and I'm not sure the severity of that. I mean,
it's not one that we know a timetable for.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, you're closer to being a medical doctor than me.
Right. I don't know that one. That's definitely a new one for me.
Doesn't sound good. No, Alan Lazard, right shoulder. Rashawn Gary. The Packers can't afford to lose anybody. Rashawn Gary with the concussion. Alan Lazard with the shoulder. Another notable name, Amon-Ra St. Brown, concussion.
Yes, went out with a concussion. Yes,
that hurts
early in that game.
A couple other names here. Chuba Hubbard for Carolina with Christian McCaffrey now going to San Francisco. He's the starter in Carolina. Hurt his ankle, did not return. I don't think there's a timetable on that one that I've seen yet. And AJ Terrell for the Falcons is another one listed here.
Yep. And that game had a lot of the Miami players were going down like crazy, and that on the defensive side. So that was pretty rough game too. Hopefully everybody's okay there. They didn't come back in the game, but it's tough to watch that. It was Byron Jones, I think. Right? Did you say his name on that list? We went through so many names that are injured.
Brandon Jones.
Yeah, Brandon
he's
Jones.
on here.
Yeah. The safety, right? Yeah.
For Miami.
Yep, he significant injury right in that game, and he's been playing well for them, so hurts their backfield. But just so many injuries, and this is the point in the season where we're at week 7. Even if you've had your bye week, you've had 5 tough games already grinding through, and it wears you down a little bit, and you're starting to see the results of any wrong step could obviously get you could get injured on the first play of the first game, but this, once you're in it and you've been hit so many times, you probably get a little more prone to, okay, the one that actually blew out your knee it didn't look that bad until, you got the x-ray and found out. But tough for all of these injuries. DK, right? One of the best receivers in the NFL, and reliable players for teams. That's how they rebound from this, and this is why depth matters in the NFL, right? You got to have that next man up mentality.
Yeah, it really does matter. And another notable name here, Ryan Tannehill was in a walking boot. Says he injured his ankle in the second half. Told reporters doesn't feel great. He'll see what he can do for week 8. But will we see Malik Willis? Right, talk about depth. Maybe that's why you take a guy in the 3rd round.
That might be an upgrade. So I mean, you might have just upgraded.
That's true.
The injury.
They had him running jet sweeps and everything. So I don't know.
Can you lose your job to injury? That would,
that's who lost their job to injury? Matt Ryan. Next topic here. Matt Ryan, shoulder injury. Looks like shoulder strain, I think I saw.
He's definitely out a couple.
Sam Ellinger will start for Indianapolis and for the rest of the season, they said.
Yep.
That shocked me. I'm like, he's the backup. He'll take over from Matt Ryan. But for the season, that blew my mind.
I brought his name up a few weeks ago when we were talking about, is Indy on the cusp, or are they bad, or what's going on with them? I said at some point they got to go to Sam Ellinger because Matt Ryan looks like a decaying body out there. And Sam Ellinger we have never seen him play in the NFL. So I think the bigger announcement for me wasn't so much that we're going to start Sam Ellinger. I expected that. But if Sam Ellinger goes out there and looks like, JP Losman or something, then you're going to have to figure it out and go back to Matt Ryan probably. However, that's not what they said. They said he's our quarterback for the rest of the season, meaning that we're committed to this guy. We're going to give him a chance to grow and give him a chance to work through, which I know we talked about this before. We just went on and you claim that means they're punting the season, right? Like they're done, even though they're 3-3.
To me, this screams the owner's not happy. 3-3 is not good enough. They lost to Tennessee. That hurts, right? Like I think they're 2 games behind Tennessee now. They've played them twice.
Right. They lost both. They have no chance.
And to me, it's ownership screaming, let's tank the season and get a quarterback. Right? When Peyton Manning went down, Curtis Painter came in. They got the first pick, got Andrew Luck. No other owner, in my opinion, uses that strategy, like the Colts do, right? They haven't had a bad quarterback in years, it seems like. They tried Phillip Rivers. They've tried Carson Wentz. Now they've tried Matt Ryan. To me, this screams Irsay slamming his fist on the table and saying, tank it for a quarterback. I'm sick of losing. What's the other explanation here? Matt Ryan's that bad? It can't be.
I mean, we've seen him look that bad this year.
You think Sam Ellinger, who's never played the snap in the league, I think he's
that is how bad it's been. That's why I brought his name up a few weeks ago, because at some point you got to say, this guy's bringing us back a step, and we just need somebody who is going to stay in neutral, not even move us forward, just be neutral, because their defense is good, right? We talked about that.
Yeah, their 6th round pick, Sam Ellinger from Texas. I remember him in Texas, But no, this,
and you got to give him time.
Nobody goes in week 6 or week 7 here. Hey, let's bench our starter and see what we got. Nobody does that. No,
I mean, again, it's pretty out there, and the bigger thing is because they've said for the season. That's the more puzzling. What do you look into that and say? you claim they're punting. I claim, well, maybe they just are saying we do recognize that we need to give him the chance to grow into what he's going to be. But
this is premature though, right? You agree with that? Look, they're 3-3-1.
No,
they're still in it. They're still in competition here.
For what though? In the AFC, they can't win the division. You have lost the division. You can win the rest of your damn games. You lost the division.
There's 3 wild card spots. You're really competing with the Jets, the Dolphins, New England, right? They all have 2 or 3 losses. Cincinnati,
all better teams,
and Baltimore 4-3. Sure, but you got to play the game first. And
that's
the Chargers
true.
4-3.
They recognize where they're at, though. I think that's what it means. They recognize. Wait a minute. This is not where we want to be.
But you're competing with 5 teams. There's 3 spots. You have Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. And those guys are not going to want to punt the season. That's why I think they're like,
they have good cornerbacks.
Hey, we can still compete. This also tells me we don't know the pulse in that locker room, right? Matt Ryan walked in the door this year. He was not somebody's best friend in that room. Those guys in that locker room might be getting together and saying, you know what? It's time to freaking move on. We want to win, and this guy is holding us back. So give us anything you got, and we're going to go with it, right? So that locker room, Jonathan Taylor might be like, we need to change if we want to win. The captains on that team are saying, whatever it is, this guy ain't it, and we need to move on. So, and this is the only option they have, really. This is what they have in-house. And the rest of the season thing is a little confusing. Maybe they're trying to boost his confidence, tell him, yes, we do want you to be the leader of this team, at least on offense, not in the locker room, obviously, although the quarterback gets obviously a little bit more mic time and all of that. Yeah, we'll see what he's got because he's going to be put to the test.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan does have the 9 interceptions. Right?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
a ton of sacks.
Can't be that bad.
He's been sacked a ton of times, but it's a tough one for me, man. I think they're tanking the season. That's really what I think. I think the owner came down and said, we need a quarterback. We want to be in the mix for a quarterback this
I think the locker room would have a lot more to be upset
probably.
about.
And that's where it gets weird. Like the team will still play hard, but if you're talking about strategy, to me, this screams desperation, really. They're panicking.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely panicking. And I think
see what you have in your 6th-round quarterback in the preseason.
True.
Or
and I don't even think
when you're out of the playoff
season. Yeah, right.
I don't think you do it. You don't do it in week 7 when you have a Matt Ryan who's potentially a Hall of Famer. And he's at the end of his career. He's not playing great, but like you got to see it through, right? Anyway, you paid him a ton of money, and now he's definitely not going to be there next year. If this is actually the case.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on the next topic here. Let's review your best bets of the week for week 7, made or missed. 4-2 again. This seems to be the theme week in, week out. 4-2, 4-2, 4-2.
I know, right? We got to get over this hump. Although we're winning, right? This is winning. We're winning cash money here. We can't be angry at 4-2 by any means.
Yeah, so Dallas, I think I went with Detroit. I thought Dan Campbell.
You're crazy. I told you.
But look, Dan Campbell, like he's gonna will his team to win at least one game, right? Or one upset game.
Maybe, but not against the best pass rush in the NFL now.
It's the big stage. It's in Dallas, right?
And what costs them big time?
Prime
their
time
quarterback,
usually, right?
Jared Goff.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you the props on that one, but
that one was easy.
Okay.
Picking.
Yeah. Well,
first 2 were easy.
Almost said don't bet the Lions, right?
Kansas City, we do.
Kansas City was easy. The Niners just didn't match up well.
Even with the trade, we knew that was a bad matchup. We'll get back to Miami, although you heard the Miami story. -7, and you blew all my parlays this weekend. It would have been one of my biggest winning weekends ever for me personally, cash winnings. If Miami had one more point on the board. So I'm very angry to say the least. The Chargers, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. I'm a freaking idiot, right? I can't believe I bet them again. I will not be picking them again the rest of the season. They suck. They have lost my confidence. You couldn't beat Seattle. What the heck is wrong with you, Justin Herbert? Go take a shower. Your season is over. Go away, right? I'm done.
Something's wrong with them.
With that whole freaking team. They can go to heck, right? I'm done. Screw them. The Browns, this game ended exactly as I had predicted. Exactly, right? I said 6.5 for this game, way too much of a line. The Baltimore's been blowing leads. I think it's a division game. It's a divisional game. It's going to be competitive. 3 points, I said. Baltimore wins by 3 points. 6.5 is way too much. Boom. Easy, right? And even 4, I said maybe 24-20.
Yeah.
And it ended up being 23-20. And so it was, exactly. Spot on, easy pickings. And the Jets, +1. The Jets continue to win. They had an inferior opponent in the Broncos with a backup quarterback getting points. Yes, it was in Denver, but no confidence in the Broncos, and the Jets are just playing very, very well, even though they sustained some injuries and might hit a wall now. It was a good pick there. Miami, man. Miami, you really did me in. Worst. What are you doing on 4th and 3? 4th and 3 at like the 15-yard line. You're up by 6. You kick a field goal. You go up by 9. Kick the damn field goal and go up by 2 scores. Not kicking the field goal, you're vulnerable to a touchdown, meaning you lose. And they almost did lose that way. It was ridiculous. I was so angry. And the worst part is they didn't even lose the game. I wanted them to lose in the end because I knew they weren't going to cover. And I'm like, okay, forget you then too. I want you to lose.
Yeah, that was
although I may not have learned my lesson yet with Miami because I think they do have a lot of winning yet to come. So 4-2.
Their offense looked hot and early on, but then, you're right. They just like hit a wall and that was it.
4-2 though again this week. The big news, right? We're going to go over the games in a second, but I lost the Thursday night game for the first time. I picked New Orleans on the Thursday night game.
Thursday night picks.
Yeah,
not bad.
Still a really darn good Thursday night record.
And that's a tough one to pick too. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from New Orleans. Nobody can pick 2 pick sixes in 2 minutes before the half.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
Bad.
So it's a tough one, but I liked Arizona throughout. I did pick Arizona. Let's get in the AFC. I think we're down to 5 contenders in the AFC, like legitimate contenders, right? We got the Buffalo Bills, the Chiefs. Ultimately, it'll probably come down to those 2, right? Chiefs, Bills. We got the Bengals are back. They've looked great the last 2 weeks, so I put them on the headline here. Joe Burrow's been phenomenal the past 2 weeks, so I think they're just going to continue to get better. The Ravens, if you want to put them in that category, I think they're on the bubble for a legitimate contender. I think they play well week in, week out. It's just these fourth quarter leads are weird, right?
Okay.
And then you got to put Tennessee in there because they're clearly going to win the division now with a 2-game lead over Indianapolis. Indianapolis abandoning ship. Tennessee's playoff team, folks.
You know what I really love about this list right here? The fact that I'm a Buffalo Bills fan and we beat the Chiefs and we beat the Ravens and we beat the Titans already. And we play the Bengals later this season, and I think we're going to beat them too because that offensive line is still not playing that great, and they haven't had defenders come at them like our defense would, especially one that can also cover, right? So I'm excited for that matchup later this year. But, yeah, it's good to be a Bills fan right now. And we said this before, but it really does still feel like, and this isn't our bias, you turn on ESPN, they'll say the same thing. It's the Buffalo Bills and everybody else. Right. These other 4 teams are competing to be the other team against the Bills. Right. It's really come down to that. And even on a weekend without the Bills, I feel like the Bills still shined through because they're still the best team in the AFC. But these other teams are the Chiefs, very competitive. They look better. Obviously, we know the Bills bested them, but they can do everything. Right. And they managed to play good defense despite not having a good defense. I've said that for years. Yeah. They still play very well on defense. The Bengals have a lot more question marks in my mind. They're too inconsistent still. The defense still has questions. I want to see it become a consistent thing for them that they're able to score. They're able to put teams away. The Ravens, obviously, with the comebacks and these close wins, they got to do something about that. The Titans are quiet right now. Quietly just winning their games, just moving forward. We just talked about Ryan Tannehill and who? Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback of the division-leading Titans, kind of like last year when they had the number 1 seed in the AFC. They are just quietly winning games. Now, I don't think they're quite at the level team-wise, piece by piece-wise, as these other teams are. But they could make a run as well.
Yeah, they just got the clear lead. We'll see what happens moving forward. But I think you got to put them in that conversation just because they're going to win the division, potentially get a home playoff game, right? How about these other teams? Who's missing from this list? We have 5 teams on here who we think are playoff teams. How about the Jets? Do they deserve to be in here? The record says they do. I think their defense has been playing well. I think Breece Hall hurts them a lot. That's going to be really tough for them to overcome, right? I think Zach Wilson's going to have to step up and take over this team, right? Elevate the offensive play with Breece Hall out. And we haven't really seen him do that yet, FYI. That's one reason he's not on here, right? Do we put Miami in here?
Ooh, they kind of have to prove that slump they went in was because of the missing Tua and the injuries and the hullabaloo.
Really, with them, I haven't been impressed the last 4 weeks.
Exactly.
He
Even
lost
this
3.
week,
they had backup quarterback. I understand.
Facing the Steelers. I mean, you should have. And you're the
Steelers
team who's. But their cornerbacks are vulnerable. I mean, we saw the Bills destroy them. And you're Tua with 2 of the best receivers in the NFL.
And they looked hot early.
You can't score more than 16. I mean, it just, no. Like, you're
Tua
right. They do have a lot more to show.
Legitimate in his first few drives. They look great. Yeah, I think they scored 13 points in the first quarter. And then just nothing. You got to keep that going. I'm not sure what happened there, right? That has me concerned a little bit, right? I just want to see them win another game, like run away with it. 16-10. This is supposed to be a high-powered offense. I feel like they didn't really play 4 quarters in that game on Sunday night. So I'd like to see more from them before I put them on this list. What about you?
Same. Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Just a little bit. How about New England? What are we thinking about New England? 3-3.
Are you asking me about the New England Patriots?
Be legitimate. They're 3-3. Mac Jones back this week, tonight. Here in a little bit.
They're playing very good defense.
They
should not be in the playoff conversation at all. They should not be in the playoff conversation. But because teams like the Colts and these other teams are not doing as well as expected or projected, they're suddenly in the playoff conversation. This says contenders. This doesn't say playoff, hopefuls. New England's a playoff hopeful. They are not a contender by any means. I don't care if you're a New England fan. You don't think they're contending right now. You think we're going to make the playoffs, right? That's where you're at. And sure, Bill Belichick, what's he going to do? He schemed to get through any one of these teams. Any one of these teams. I'd take these 5 easily over New England.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see who comes in second place in the AFC East at the end. That's going to be a battle. And it's not really Miami. Who plays Buffalo. It's when the Jets play Miami, when the Jets play New England. Those games are going to be very important.
Yeah.
For once. Think in the end, they've never been important before. I mean, they're important every year. Don't get me wrong. But they've never been important for literally a playoff team or 2.
Yep.
Not counting Buffalo. You might have 3 playoff teams from the AFC.
The AFC East, yeah.
That's what I mean when I say those games are very important because I don't think we've been in this situation.
You could have 4. I mean, they really could.
At least a decade, right? At least a decade.
All 4 teams could make the playoffs. That'd be nuts. That would be nuts. Now that there's a 7th seed, you could literally have that. And with the different opponent matchups.
Right. I think the schedule's pretty easy for the AFCs this year overall. But we'll leave that alone.
Out better than that. Yeah.
What about the Chargers?
No.
Not contenders.
No. They're a joke. They are the Chargers. Their name says it all. We are Chargers. Definition, look it up in the dictionary, and it says very overhyped team that can never live up to expectations and is a disappointment forever. Right? That is dictionary definition of the Chargers. Okay. Every year, look back the past 10 years. Oh, the Chargers this year are going to be good. And what happens? They fall on their face. They have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and they suck. I just don't get it. I don't get it. They blamed it on coaching before. They fired coach after coach and said, okay, now we're going to, get there, and now we're going to get over the hump. Now we got Justin Herbert. Now we got all these pieces on defense.
They do have pieces.
Yeah.
They're there.
No excuses. You just suck, period. You lost to the Seattle freaking Seahawks at home.
Yeah,
what?
They lost to Jacksonville earlier.
What? You're a joke. You're a joke. You're the joke of the NFL.
I'd say
You're
of any
the biggest joke in the NFL by far right
All
now
right,
is the Chargers.
Let me ask you this one because I think the Colts are out of it now. I do.
Yep. Probably.
Are the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Chargers, which team's most likely to make a run? Win the most games. We'll say that.
Dolphins. I would go Dolphins.
Okay, I was going to say Chargers. I just like I trust the quarterback.
Who are they playing? High school
than
teams?
Any of these other quarterbacks. Better than Mac Jones, better than Tua, better than Zach Wilson. That's no joke.
Dude.
Look, maybe it's their play calling, maybe it's the receiving core. I really don't know.
It doesn't matter what it is. They're the Chargers. They're the disappointment team. That is what they do. They can't. You lost to Seattle at home, and you've already lost bad games. So it's not like, oh, this is last year when the Bills lost to the Jags, for example. Oh, that was the bump in the road, and then they were fine. No, you've already embarrassed yourself multiple times this year, and you're supposed to be a contender. No, at some point you look in the mirror and you say, this is who we are. We just suck. We can't put it together. We have bad play calling, bad coaching, bad play on the field. You just suck. I don't know what to say. They do. I'm not trusting them at all the rest of the season.
Defense giving up a lot of points, but you got to say, talk about disappointing teams.
Yeah.
Miami, they don't win the game they need for the playoffs the last 2 seasons, right? 9 wins and 10 wins.
That's right.
And they missed the playoffs because they didn't win the game that
They
they're
very well have
win.
to win this year.
Jets haven't even been to the party before this first time. And then New England just underwhelms me on offense. Sure, delayed screen. You want to play that game, run the running back up the middle. That's fine. You're not going to be able to beat Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen like that. I trust Justin Herbert more than I do these other guys. And that's enough for me. I'd take the Chargers out of those 4 teams. Anyway, next one here.
I'll bet you on that one. I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet. I got the Dolphins. You got the Chargers.
Give me offline. Give me offline. How far can Cincinnati go?
How far can they go? The potential.
Are they Super Bowl? Are they Super Bowl conversation? Are they in the same conversation or same level as the Chiefs and Bills?
No. God, no. God, no. They're at the same place they were last year once we realized it was a good team, right? Oh, they're good, but nobody picked them to win a playoff game, right? Period. But they did. And then nobody picked them to beat Kansas City, and
they beat them twice last year.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So their ceiling is that they can go as far as Joe Burrow and playing 100% and everything going their way can take them, right? They could go as far as the Super Bowl and beyond because the NFC
so you're saying they're a Super Bowl contender and they're in the conversation.
Yes, but nobody, I don't care, under zero circumstance, if the game was in Cincinnati, if the game was anywhere, right? Under no circumstances is anybody picking Cincinnati to beat the Chiefs or Cincinnati to beat Buffalo. That would be insanity. No, not right now. Not from this very inconsistent team. Both the Chiefs and the Bills would attack that offensive line and I think crush Joe Burrow, and that's that, right? And both the Bills and the Chiefs, if Cincinnati, who's continued to give up points despite playing very well on offense, goes up against Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, you want to have a shootout with those two, you're going to lose. That's all there is to it. You are going to lose. Especially we're talking about this season, not last season. The Chiefs had that bump into Cincinnati after that epic showdown versus Buffalo, where they thought they were crowned the winners, right? And they weren't ready for what Cincinnati had for them. Now we're all in saying, yeah, this is Cincinnati. We know we need to be prepared.
Yeah. If you're looking at Cincinnati,
I don't think they're going to have the same run.
If you're looking at them the last 2 weeks, you got to say they're in the conversation.
Right.
They could beat Pat Mahomes. They can beat the Bills. If they play like they did the last 2 weeks, which I know, they haven't played great opponents. They played New Orleans. They played Atlanta. I understand.
And there's 2 sides of the ball. Okay.
Sure.
Give Cincy 60 points. You score 60 points against Kansas City and Buffalo. Yay. Guess what? They're going to score 160. You cannot score points and win games. That's not how it works. You also have to play defense. And if you're giving up 30 points to the likes of New Orleans with a backup and these other weak teams, then Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to murder you. So no, they are not in the competition yet. They are on their way. And like I said before, they are no longer the underestimated underdog. We know who you are. We know we're going to be prepared to play you. And they'll get that preview at least against the Bills in the regular season, toward the end of the regular season. Monday Night Football game.
Teams with the most passing yards or passing touchdowns in the league, are 1, 2, 3 is Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. 2017-15. They're there.
Yeah.
And I like Cincinnati. We'll see.
Josh Allen has played a half
play
Buffalo.
Football. They do play Buffalo this year. That'll be a great game to watch. But the way they're playing right now, Jamar Chase is back. Tyler Boyd, who's their 4th-string guy.
Very good game this week.
He could start for a lot of teams.
Third. He's their number 3.
Well, T. Higgins, yeah. Okay. All right.
He's their number 3. Boyd.
He's probably number 3.
The slot. Yep.
So, but yeah, I like Cincinnati. They've been playing great. Keep an eye on them. Anyway, NFC, real quick. 4 contenders out of the NFC. The Giants, you can't ignore it anymore. 6-1.
Yeah.
And their schedule lightens up even more here. The Eagles, obviously, 6-0. They're the cream of the crop right now. Dallas, they're back. Dak's back. Looked pretty smooth. I don't know. Detroit can't play any defense, so I don't really know. We'll see more of Dak moving forward, but really they'll go as far as he can take them, right? And then obviously the Minnesota Vikings, arguably the most balanced team in the NFL.
Yeah, and I like.
Tampa... Go ahead.
I like the second half of this. You were probably going to say that, but the reason I say that is because Brady and Rodgers being done. That's another conversation. But the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Green Bay Packers, many favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, not mine. Mine are on that list. Mine are probably number 1 and number 2, the Eagles and the Vikings. They're the 2 teams. They're in contention. They're going to be in the NFC Championship game, as was my prediction before anybody saw a snap of football this season. So I have to toot my own horn there because those 2 teams are damn good, and they're going to continue to be for the rest of the season and into the playoffs. The Giants, man. The Giants. They have as many wins as I predicted them to get on the season. But every single game has been by the skin of their teeth, by the slimmest of margins, by everything going right for them, by playing out of their shoes. I give them full credit. I'm not trying to take away from the Giants, but that doesn't hang against good teams. The Giants still play the Eagles twice. They have 0 chance to beat the Eagles. 0. They are not in contention with the Eagles. That's why they don't belong on this list in my mind. Dallas, too. I would take Dallas over the Giants with Dak Prescott in that offense and that defense all day long. The Giants have no shot in my mind right now. So the Giants playing well? Yes. Are they playing better than people expected? Yes. Is there good morale there? Yes. Are they a good story? Of course. Are they going to do anything in the playoffs? No. If they make it that far, they still got to win games to make it to the playoffs. Granted, it's the NFC and they have a much easier route and their schedule is favorable. But even if they go undefeated into the playoffs, I don't think I would have them even winning a playoff game. Dallas, they're going the right way. You now have Dak Prescott back. You survived the injury. You're only moving up. And this game against they had this week against the Lions was the first stepping stone to Dak fully being back and being himself. And I think that is where you want to be, right? You can only go up. Your record is still there. You're still in this conversation. If you're playing your best, you can compete with the likes of the Vikings and the Eagles. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dallas third in the division at 5-2.
Right. And obviously they're going to be better than that because 3 of these teams are NFC East teams. So something has to work out. Again, the Giants have to play the Eagles twice still. And yeah, I think that's ultimately for me where I'm at. It's all about the Eagles and Vikings. And, Dallas can put themselves in the conversation. The Giants are not going to win a playoff game.
But they're legitimate contender. They're a playoff team.
They're a playoff team. Sure.
But you don't
because
think
they have 6 wins.
You're saying
and a favorable schedule.
Not a Super Bowl contender at this point.
Super Bowl contender? No. God,
that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
That's what I said. You have to win a playoff game.
To the listeners. Just clarifying.
I said they won't win a playoff game. Again,
what's interesting about them is they got Seattle next week.
Yeah, they have a very good schedule.
Yep.
Great.
Texans, the Lions.
Okay.
3 games.
If you put an undefeated college team in the NFL playoffs, are they going to do anything? They're undefeated. Your record is useless. Yes. It means nothing once you get to the playoffs. Now you're playing real teams.
Yes.
Let's go.
What really matters, they have 5 divisional games towards the end of the season, right? They got Dallas November 24th, Thanksgiving, right? And then you got the Commanders twice, and you have the Eagles twice still on the schedule.
Loss. They'll beat the Commanders probably.
I do have Minnesota and Indianapolis in there as well, just to tie up loose ends.
Minnesota loss. So,
but they could have 9 wins before they even play a divisional round.
They can. Game. Yes.
They can win. I mean, Seattle's going to be tough for them, I think, but Houston and Detroit, those are winnable for
sure.
The momentum that the Giants have. Those are they're expected to win that.
Exactly. And win them in the same fashion that they've been, clawing their way, getting it done, playing the right way. I mean, I give them credit still. Their record is what it is. They're winning games. They're doing things the right way, but they don't have the roster or the bodies to compete with these other teams that are actually good.
Fair. And Tampa Bay still at the top of the division at 3-4. Are they done? They're my Super Bowl pick. They're a lot of people's Super Bowl pick.
I have said continually on this show, even though I hate Tom Brady with a passion, that team is only going to get better, right? And that they're kind of going to brush this all off come playoff contention time. Now you've got to put the rubber to the road and say, okay, we're not getting better right now. What do we need to change in order to get better? They still have the time to do so.
Yeah, when do you start to panic? This is a big question for them.
They can't panic, right? You can't panic if you're 3 games under 500 and the Falcons are in first place. I mean, you can still win, right? So
yeah.
I think that they can't quite panic yet. Brady, I don't think it's his fault necessarily they're losing. It's a compounding factor of things.
Can't run the
offensive line. They can't run that offensive line.
I haven't really looked into it deep enough to know if they're not trying to run a lot or they just can't.
They can't. Yeah, it's mostly that offensive line, I think, in my mind anyway. You do your own study, but I think that in the games that I've seen, that's what I'm looking at. And the offensive line, we know who Brady is. He wants to feel comfortable back there. He wants to get the ball out quick. And that offensive line has kind of been deterring him. A lot of it's his fault, too. It ultimately falls on him, too. But those two, so Rodgers is the other one, complete opposite situation. Again, I will toot my own horn. I have told you from the beginning of the season that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers suck. Not because of Aaron Rodgers, but that roster. And they've only gotten worse. They are not getting better. At the beginning of the year, I said they'll have bumps at the beginning, but then they'll find their chemistry and they'll get better. But I picked Minnesota to win the division. They're done. Green Bay is not a good team. The Brady and that Tampa Bay team, they have a rough offensive line. They got to work out the kinks. But at the end of the day, their roster is good enough to compete with the teams in the playoffs, especially in the NFC. They're good enough on offense and defense.
Yeah, they got
Aaron Rodgers
Sunday night this week.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers do. Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers is the only good thing on that team. The only. Nothing else is even viable to play in the NFL right now.
They should be playing.
They should be playing high school teams. No, Aaron Jones has done nothing this season. A.J. Dillon has done nothing this season. They look like shit. Every which way you can handle it. Okay? They literally should be playing high school teams right now. Yeah. They cannot play on offense. They can't catch the ball. I'm not putting it all on Aaron Rodgers. Some of the throws, he's overthrown and he's at whatever. They just don't have the chemistry. And he doesn't have Devontae Adams, a guy who just catches everything thrown his way. Right? So he's got to be more accurate. He's got to play the best of his career. He looks a little bit kind of laissez-faire out there. Like, oh, I don't care. We'll just see if this works.
Currently 16th in the league in rushing. They've only had 3 rushing touchdowns. They're supposed to be a rush team.
No, exactly.
They're down early.
And they're getting the carries. They just aren't getting the yards.
Right.
They're not doing it. They're worthless. I'm telling you, if you watch the Green Bay games, this is what I've said. I've watched enough of them now. They suck. They cannot do anything well. They do not play defense well. They do not play offense well. They do not play special teams well. They do not play sideline well. They do not anything. You name it, they stink at it right now. And it's not going to get better because now you have to play the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. So good luck with that one.
Yeah.
You know, Romeo Dubes as the star player on your offense who got 0 catches this week.
He's kind of fallen off lately, but
0 catches. But he's their number 1 guy.
Right.
Lazard,
they're not doing good on third down. They're averaging 18 points a game. Just not good on offense.
It's not really, really bad. 18? Oh, my God. That's almost as bad
We'll get into the Sunday preview.
Detroit.
We'll get into the Bills Packers game because that's a fun one to talk about. Packers never won there. You know, going to 3-5 would be tough for the Packers. But what's
lucky
interesting,
they got
though,
those 3, and that's what I kept saying. 3-3 when they played the Giants. They both stung.
It's Minnesota's division to lose, right? That's clear. No other team's even close. But the NFC South, on the other hand, the Falcons have a rare opportunity here. They have Carolina in 2 of the next 3 weeks, and they have the Chargers. And the Bears after that, if you want to keep going with this. The next 4 weeks, they got Carolina twice, Chargers, Bears. And this Tampa Bay has the Ravens this Thursday night. Tough game. The Rams, tough game. Seattle, you can go either way.
Better than we,
It's a 9:30 game. I think that's probably overseas.
Oh yeah, that must be the.
So that's not easy for anybody. And then they have Cleveland. I think, and Deshaun Watson comes back November 27th. So that's not an easy schedule.
It's not
when you break it down.
That's why I was saying what I was saying about Brady.
Get better real quick.
They're going to fight
Atlanta.
Yep.
If Atlanta can win 3 of the next 4, I think they take a firm lead in the division headed into Week 12. Because I think Tampa Bay is 2-2 in these next 4 games, right? Ravens, Rams, Seahawks, Browns. Deshaun Watson returning for the Browns, and we'll see. That could go either way, right? The Browns might be done too, but I think the Ravens and Rams are tough.
Browns are kicking themselves by losing these really close games. But yeah, the Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's why I brought up what I brought up earlier. The Falcons have a much favorable schedule right now. They're going to find themselves 2 or 3 games behind the Falcons for the division, and they might still be able to overtake them for the division or make the playoffs as a wild card and beat them in the playoffs, right? They're a better team than the Falcons, no questions asked. So that's why I think when the rubber meets the road, if you're Tampa Bay and you can at least get on the same page, because we saw their frustration is peaked. It does not get any worse than the loss they had this weekend. It can't. I don't care what happens. You lost to a team that is trying to lose. So I mean that's as bad as it gets right there. So yeah, I think that Tampa Bay will just hold their collective breaths until the end of the season when it's all said and done. All they need to do is be in it, make the playoffs. You don't even need to win the division. You just got to make the playoffs, and you are able to contend with each of those top teams.
Yeah.
Not saying they'll beat them, but they can contend with them.
And that's the question. Are they contenders? Yeah, NFC is very interesting to pay attention to because I still feel like it could be anybody. There's the Eagles, and we didn't even get to San Francisco, but they lost as well. Right. They didn't look great as well. But could they make a run? I don't know.
Leaders. Yeah, defense alone, the 49ers, if they play their game, run the ball, defense, there's no questions asked. They're a contender. That's what they like to do. Right. If they do it well, they win.
And there's a sneaky team, the Seattle Seahawks, in contention to win the division in the NFC West. Nobody picked them.
Give them some respect, although the injury to DK might set them back.
They don't even use him. No, I'm kidding.
Don't need him. Put another scrub out there. Who's got another failure at a position that we can put out there?
All right. Let's get into rapid reaction. We're going to review every single game over the week. Starting with Thursday night.
Yep.
First L on his Thursday night picks. Now 6-1 on Thursday night picks.
Unbelievable. It started so well, too. I'm like, oh, New Orleans is up. They're getting 2.5. This is going to be great. I'm going to cover. I'm going to be 7-0. And 2 minutes to go in the half. And by the way, and Eric's quarterback, Andy Dalton, for as much as Eric likes to bitch about Jameis Winston being the one who throws interceptions, I'd rather throw interceptions than 2 straight pick sixes, literally putting 14 points on the board. And that really changed this whole entire game. No questions about it. The Cardinals were not playing as well as the 42 points looks here, right?
Yeah.
Not at all. They were still finding their chemistry. I think, again, they're a team that is going to get better now that their star player is back. But, I mean, if you're the Saints, you're kicking yourself in this one because you could have won this game and you should have won this game.
Yeah.
So I think the Saints are still a team that's going to make the playoffs and find a way to get it done once they get all their players back, or if they get all their players back.
That's cute.
And better, more so than Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be the disappointing team that isn't going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cute little thing you said about the Saints, but they never had a chance this year. I haven't been high on them at all because you have quarterback controversy. You can't win in this league if you don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and they lead the league in turnovers now.
Winston's back.
Now, it's a rebuild year for them. It was that way the whole time. They were never in contention, never were going to be in contention. Next game here, the Giants, 6-1 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They win this one, 23-17. Giants played great in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, and they played
defense.
To win this one.
Played really well.
Jacksonville had a real close chance. They were probably less
right
than
there, knocking
away.
On the door. Yeah, right. It was the whole game though was close. It was back and forth, and that's how I thought this game would go. I said it would be close. I picked the Jags to win, so I missed that. But both teams, these two teams in my mind, are on the same level, right? We've seen the Jags kick butt some weeks and then come out and put a stinker. We've seen the Giants just keep getting by and winning games and doing it their way, and everything going in their favor to be at 6-1 at this point in the season. So yeah, I just think the Giants did what they had to do to win. They still look good, but against the Jaguars, this is not another playoff team here.
Right. And yeah, Jacksonville, we saw some flashes, but now seems to be headed the other way at 2-5. We'll be paying close attention to that one moving forward. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence so far? We got to squeeze this in real quick.
Not good enough, period.
Yeah,
I think that's the easiest thing to say. That's the easiest thing to say.
I think Travis Etienne could be something for them, right? He looks very explosive.
Ooh, he got hurt. He had a fumble in the end zone, right? In the end zone.
He did have a fumble in the end zone, but he's
explosive. Big time. They were going to go up big there.
Yeah.
Fumble in the end zone.
Yeah, but he looks like a first-round talent. Just got to stay healthy, right? That's the big thing for him now. All right, next game, Atlanta 17 at the Cincinnati Bengals, who just destroy the Atlanta Falcons 35-17. Joe Burrow, almost 500 yards passing. They couldn't miss in this game, right? AJ Terrell goes out with an injury, and Joe Burrow, they look great. Nobody could beat them.
Against the Falcons?
Yeah, I was waiting.
Eric.
I was waiting for it.
Eric, come on, man. We already talked about this in the contention here, but same thing, right? Yes, the Bengals put up 35 and Burrow had 500. Why? Because that's the only thing they could do. They had to keep passing because the Falcons came back on them, and they were like, oh, crap, now we got to score more points, and now we got to do this again. Yes, it was a good game for Burrow, without a doubt, and he's on a lot of my fantasy teams, so pitching there. But it's got to, you've got to see it more consistently against better offensive and defensive opponents than the Falcons. Falcons did enough to hang. The big takeaway from this game, the most important takeaway from this game, Marcus Mariota lost his first game against the spread on the season.
Hey.
And I picked him. So I jinxed him. Jinxed him.
Sounds about right. Yeah, 28 points for Cincinnati in the first half, 7 in the second half. No points for Atlanta in the second half. But yeah, Joe Burrow, huge day on the ground, 482 yards passing, 3 touchdowns.
And a rushing. Yeah.
Gets people excited. Next game, Packers at the Washington Commanders. Commanders pull out a tight one with Tyler Heineke at the realm here, at the wheel.
Again,
23-21.
I was loving this because everywhere I went and everybody I talked to, nobody saw Washington beating Green Bay. And I'm like, really? Because if you watch our show, you'll see that I'm on the record saying that Washington is going to beat Green Bay. Why? Because I've seen Washington play football this year, and I've seen Green Bay play football this year, and Washington has been playing better football this year. Period. End of story. And that's why they won this game. Both teams suck. Both teams are not in contention for anything here. But Washington has been playing better football, and they got a better quarterback in Heineke than Carson Wentz, who we've been talking about is probably the reason for a lot of their struggles and inconsistencies. So good on Washington. They did what they had to do. Green Bay, we already talked about it as well. They just can't get anything right now.
Right. Can't sustain drives. That'll hurt you. They're 0 for 6 on third down in this game. And I believe their third down percentage on the season is 25th in the league. Let me just double check that real quick. Yeah, 25th at 35% on the season on third down. That's
really
just not going
sad.
to get it done. Guess who's right below them? Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Brady and Rodgers.
Got to sustain drives, right? All right, next game, the Colts I was going to say Sam Ellinger, but that's next week. The Titans, this is for the AFC South. Titans now have a huge lead in that division. I think they're up at least 2 games.
Yeah, they are.
Titans sweep the Colts this year. They've already played twice.
Oh, yeah.
And
solid 2-game lead.
Yeah, so the Titans, I think, are they're in the playoffs. I think they clinched.
Yeah, their earliest clinch of the playoffs ever right now. Because in that division, I mean, there's nothing in your way at this point for 4 wins. No matter what happens the rest of the year, you've got it. So the Titans played their style of football. They're coming off a bye, which we talked about. That was huge going into this divisional matchup game where, as we're saying, the playoffs were on the line, the division's on the line. The Colts just couldn't put anything together again. I mean, their defense is okay. That's why holding Tennessee to 19 points, that's pretty good. But it wasn't good enough, and that's all that matters. Tennessee got the W. They're chugging right along.
Yeah, it's just Ryan Tannehill with the injury. Hopefully he comes back. Malik Willis, we might see him soon. Titans have had a bye week, but really only 3 passing turnovers. That's kind of what they do, right? Run the ball, play good defense, and don't turn the ball over. And that's not really all you have to do in this division, right?
Titans 30 carries for Derrick Henry. That's a lot of touching the ball if you're Derrick Henry. That's just in carries. He probably also caught a few. And Tannehill only 20 passes, 13 of 20 for 132 yards. That tells you what kind of team they are. I think they will get better if Malik Willis now has to play because of the injury. Yeah,
that'd be fun to watch for sure. But no storylines in that division. All right, the Detroit Lions now 1-5 at the Dallas Cowboys. They lose this one 24-6.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell just can't will his team to win. I thought we'd get at least one this season, but it looks like they're going to be.
They're just not ready. And this score is not indicative of how close the game was. It was a lot closer than this for most of the game. Dallas had a last-second passing touchdown that, to get Dak back in his swing of things, I think. It was Dak's only passing touchdown. 2 rushing touchdowns by Zeke Elliott. Dallas dominated the game on both sides of the ball, but the scoreboard was a lot closer. In the end, it was just the Lions making the mistakes and Dallas capitalizing and getting at Jared Goff, which is what I saw coming. For some reason, Eric picked Detroit, and that one really
you got to pick a few upsets here and there.
This was my big bet of the week, man.
Yeah,
this was.
You got to know where to pick your upsets. You got to pick Carolina instead of Detroit, apparently.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to take your shots, But this was my shot game, and definitely didn't turn out the way I thought. But it was close all day, like you said. I think it was like 10-3 or 10-6 in the third quarter. Yeah. Dallas scores the 14 in the fourth quarter, and that's what you got to do, right? Dak Prescott looked comfortable, honestly. And Dallas, if they weren't playing the Eagles, I think the Dallas could be in the contention for the number 1 seed. And they still are at 5-2. They're only a couple games behind the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Something to pay attention to. But I like what Dallas is doing. I like their run game, and they got some pieces here on
the defense.
I love Dylan Moore as a play caller. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Dallas. We'll see. Just if they keep winning, I think they do have a shot at the 1 seed.
Yeah, not getting demoralized by the injury to Dak really skyrocketed this team's potential.
I've officially abandoned the 49ers. I'm now on Dallas as the underdog team.
There you go.
That was quick. Anyway, Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens win this one 23-20. Your typical AFC North matchup, right? Smash mouth football. Everyone runs, and the Cleveland loses, right? Very typical.
So, close enough game, but Cleveland still lost.
Yeah, Cleveland now falls to 2-5. You just hate to see it. And Baltimore now 4-3, tied with Cincinnati for the top of the division. What you got on this one? Nick Chubb, a pretty decent day on the ground. Kareem Hunt had a decent day. Again, for me, the passing game, right?
Yeah, you
struggling
can't
with the passing game.
You can't rely on Brissett as much as you have to in games like this. And that's ultimately what costs you. I had this game nailed, as we said earlier. I said 23-20, 24-20, and I took Cleveland with the points, but thought Baltimore would win, and ultimately that's how it turned out. Baltimore, this puts them back in the division-taking mode, and Cleveland, the big question now is, does this put them completely out of playoff contention, where you're just trying to stay afloat until you can get the star quarterback back, and now this is the third straight loss where it's been 3 points or less, like close games, one play, one thing, and you could have won it, right? So they've really got to start analyzing what are we doing wrong during the game that it always comes down to this at the end of the game.
I mean, I watched the Cleveland Browns last minute, right? They had a chance to go down and get a field goal, and it was the worst executed 2-minute drill I've seen. I mean, throwing it over the middle for a 2-yard play that wasted, so much time. Throw the ball to Njoku. Give the guy a shot. He was 7 targets, 7 receptions in this game. You can get the right matchup. Even if he's double covered, you have a chance with him, right? Amari Cooper still on the team, but still, just like you said, Brissett not getting it done for them. All right, next game, shocker of the week here. Carolina beats Tampa Bay. PJ Walker, ladies and gentlemen, from I think the XFL or the USFL, just a few seasons ago, comes in, beats Tom Brady. That's got to be huge for him. Put the ball on the wall.
Woo, something.
Put the certificate on the fridge.
That sounds like a dream you had once and woke up, right? Like you're like, oh man, I had this dream I beat Tom Brady in the NFL and I got the game ball and holy cow. Wow. Yeah. So this is the all around upset of the upsets for sure. I mean, the Brady and the Bucs certainly aren't hitting their stride. So it's not like this was unwarranted, but certainly unpredicted. Let's put it that way. Right. The Panthers giving up on or trading away CMC, trading away Robbie Anderson, just trying to get through the year and get a quarterback and start over. And they find themselves winning a game against a very, very good roster in Tampa Bay. So you're a good day, they're a bad day. That's why the NFL is competitive. But yeah, this was a shocker of shockers. The whole time I'm following the game, I did not watch this one directly. I didn't think I needed to. I picked the Bucs to win by more than 11 points. I thought this was going to be the game where they got right. And instead, somehow they put everything on track and got their win. So color me bamboozled like most people who watched this game.
Yeah, the shocking thing for me is, Leonard Fournette, 2.4 yards a carry. I got it. Carolina was amped. Brian Burns had a good day. But you just got to get more production out of your running game. They're just not getting it done in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And it's really uncharacteristic for a Tom Brady-led team. So I just don't know what's going on there.
We talked about the Falcons win last week as an upset win. The Panthers did the same thing. You got nothing can go. There's no outcome that puts you at a worse situation than you're already in. So you're just playing with freedom. You are just playing, right? You're giving it all you can because you got nothing to lose. You can't go backwards. You could lose by 100 points. Nobody cares, right? So they are coming out inspired and saying, we're just going to play our game and do the best we can. And boom, they get a quick score. And it was all downhill from there for Tampa Bay. It was just
shut out for 3 quarters.
From behind. You're not expecting to. You got caught off guard, and they just continued to pound.
Yep, lots of punts on the drive chart, right? And yeah, just they're not looking great. I mean, I'm not even sure if Tampa Bay is a contender. We all think they're going to come out of this slump eventually, but are we 100% sure about that?
All they have to do is make it, even if they're the 7th seed by a half game because somebody else lost.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's all.
I would love if Tom Brady didn't make the playoffs, but
that'd be beautiful. Oh my God, trust me, that would be beautiful.
Seattle at the Los Angeles Chargers, another upset in this one. The Seattle Seahawks. Did anybody predict them to go 4-3 in Week 7? Geno Smith, decent day, but really the Chargers are the story. They're just not getting. They can't play defense, which is shocking to me when you have Khalil Mack.
They can't play defense. They can't play offense either. They can't play anything.
Yeah,
23 points. Again, we talked about how bad this defense is for Seattle, how consistently bad they've been. Now, obviously, they've played well 2 games in a row, well enough to win games, but you can't attack that team. I've saw anywhere, everybody said this was the week that, you're going to want to have Herbert on your roster and in your fantasy and on your pick'ems. No, I'm lucky I did not take Herbert this week in any of those things because, I was on the Burrow train. So I won that battle, luckily. But you can't have a game like this against such an inferior opponent. As good as the Seahawks have played this year, as much as their record is better than anybody thought it would be, they're still an inferior team and roster in any way you want to slice it to the Chargers. and the Chargers got blown out by them, plain and simple.
Yeah. Geno Smith led offense. They came out, scored 17 points in the first quarter, and the Chargers are playing catch up at that point, right?
Supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah, but the Seattle Seahawks kept it going, right? Had the safety in the game. They only punted the ball once all day. It did have an interception early, did have a fumble, but I like what Seattle's doing, right? Geno Smith is back, folks. I would never have thought that would be the case, but are they legitimate contenders? We'll talk about that another day. But really, the story is the Chargers lose another game that they're supposed to win, and now we're talking: is the coach going to survive? Right? Are we looking at new coaches?
Yeah.
Sean Payton's name's popped up. Somebody who would drool over Justin Herbert. And you got to think that's going to be a premier job if
they blame the coaches before. Well, certainly if Sean Payton came, they couldn't blame the coach.
They're still in it, though. The Chargers still in it. They got a lot to work on, right? To be content.
A lot to work on.
All right, next one here. Kansas City blows out the San Francisco 49ers.
Saw this one.
We both predicted this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think San Francisco matches up against Kansas City at all, right? They're not. You have to play perfect defense, and that doesn't even work against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right? So
they're playing two different games.
It's like Fred Warner. I thought he could play Travis Kelce. I thought he could take him out of the game, but Kansas City goes to these other guys, right? McCole Hardman had a huge day. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a good day, and Kansas City it's the premier team in the league. San Francisco is now measuring that, saying, "Wow, we're actually not built to play the best team in the league," right?
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty much, again, as we saw it, Pat Mahomes bounce back game after getting beat by the Bills. Bad matchup, take advantage, do what you do. Kansas City just doesn't lose games like that. This isn't a divisional opponent who really knows you well and is going to grind against you. It was exactly as scripted.
Right. Well, I think they had I don't have it here from me, but I know. But Jimmy G made a huge mistake in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they settled for 3 points on the first few drives.
That's like saying this game happened on a Sunday.
Right.
There was the ball shaped in the football. Yeah.
Kansas City, though, you just go for it on fourth down.
Yeah, and you can't make mistakes, obviously. We knew they would lose this game. But the bigger story for San Francisco is that this game is not as important for them, right? This loss to Kansas City is not going to hinder their chances at winning the division, at doing what they want to do in the NFC.
That's right. It was interception by Pat Mahomes. We had 2 interceptions in a row, right? From the Bills game to this game, intercepted early. And then San Francisco settles for 3. And I said, you can't settle for 3 versus Kansas City. Not this team. You're a run-first team. You're not going to be able to, catch up if you get down early. So you got to just go for it,
Yep.
And
that was not what
ended up being true, right? Kansas City came back, touchdown, missed field goal, touchdown. And that's what it was. Anyway, next game here, we have the New York Jets at the Denver Broncos.
Woot woot. Yeah, I mean, this was a great grind-it out game, exactly as I predicted
I got
again.
nothing on this one.
Yeah, the Jets are 5-2. That's the storyline here. The Broncos now playing without Russell Wilson did not look good again. 9 points.
God, the Broncos are painful to watch.
Oh, it's so bad.
My God, they're painful.
But their defense is good, hence holding the Jets to 16 points. Granted, the Jets aren't exactly an electric offense at this point, but they do have playmakers and exciting guys to watch. And the Broncos did exactly. I mean, I could have wrote this script before the game ever happened, right? Broncos play good defense. Jets win it pretty easily. Jets have the lead start to finish. Broncos barely can score 10 points and don't in this one.
Broncos are done.
Yeah.
They're going to be bad for a while.
Yeah.
Because the defense can't carry a team like this. Like, if you can't play any offense at all, they're just going to give up eventually.
This is when you know you hired the wrong head coach.
Yeah,
and I said that when the guy was hired. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, we said it preseason too. You got a weird situation. You got new ownership. The Walmart family, which is the wealthiest family in the NFL, I believe. And then you have a new coach, first-time head coach, and a new quarterback, who turns out maybe it isn't such a great teammate. I don't know. I always thought he was, but, there's a lot of stuff out there that says maybe he's a little too cringy, and you got to go through his agent to get a hold of him. I mean, that's just weird stuff. So now things are not well in Denver, right? I knew that was going to be
not a
weird.
good spot to be. I know there's talk
together. It takes time.
Trading Jerry Jeudy and all this stuff. I'm like, what? Right. No.
Yeah.
Not happening.
I mean, at this point, you're not going to win a lot of games this year, right?
No,
just throw the towel in and tank it.
You have to throw the towel. I mean, you're done. Your season is done. You can't score 10 points. No matter how good your defense plays, you're done.
And for the Jets, Zach Wilson's got to be better. If you're literally a contender, a legitimate contender, Zach got to play better, right? And with Breece Hall going out for the season, Zach Wilson's going to have to get these receivers. That's the strength of the team now, right?
And
Wilson, Corey Davis, who I know is injured. I think he might come back. I think it was an MCL, so I'm not sure how long that takes. It's 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, yeah, and the fact that the Jets are playing good defense, but they're going to play better teams. This has been consistent for the Jets now. When they played the Packers, same thing. They just played a team that was worse than them. Now they're playing the Broncos. They just happen to be playing a team that is worse than they are. They have to still step it up and play well on both sides of the ball if they're going to beat any real contenders. Buzzword of the episode here, contender.
Yeah. But it's time for Zach Wilson to do something.
Yes, agreed. He's got to step up. I mean, he's still recovering from the injury, 3 games. Now he's back, right?
Yeah, exactly. No more excuses for him. Go as far as he takes them, which I don't really think is as far as people think. All right, next game, Texans at Raiders. Josh Jacobs had a day. Talked about this preseason as well. The best match, the best thing about Josh McDaniels coming to the Raiders is Josh Jacobs' career is going to be, revived. Now, speaking in fantasy terms, he's had 30-plus points the last 3 weeks. He's just been great in the receiving game, been great on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I love him as a player with Josh McDaniels. Could the Raiders can they come back here? Can they start making a run?
No. No.
Fair.
I mean, they still have – this is against the Houston Texans, mind you, a team who's definitely not going on a run. And I do like the Texans. We all know this. I said they're going to be competitive. They're just not going to win games. This was one of those games. They were pretty competitive throughout most of it. 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter by the Raiders. So the Texans played pretty well up until the fourth quarter, but they just don't have the roster and the bodies that are capable of winning those types of games. The Raiders, against good competition or anything close, have done nothing but crap the bed. So they need to prove they can put this together more consistently, and I am not a believer at all that they're going to be able to do that.
We got breaking news coming in right now. The Jets acquired James Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. Could become a 5th-round pick.
Wow, that is breaking news. I am surprised by that somewhat. Granted, the Jaguars like the running back situation they have. They've got 3 guys really that have emerged running the ball, including Robinson. The Jets, realizing that they have a good record and are in contention, bring in a veteran running back who knows how to play the game. Just catch him up in your system. Now you have the whole week to do that and game plan. Yeah, I like the move. If you're the Jets, you're saying we're in it to contend and win. We don't want to just lay down because we lost one of our star players.
That's what we just talked about with the Jets. That Zach Wilson can't do it. They don't believe in him. The strength of the team is run the ball, play good defense, take shots, right? They cannot put the whole game on Zach Wilson's back at this point. And we talked about Travis Etienne. The Jaguars are comfortable with him. He looks explosive. You're 2-5. You're not winning a ton. Why not get some value? James Robinson's good enough to start in this league. And I think the future is all Travis Etienne out in Jacksonville. So 2 things we touched on there. And it makes a lot of sense to me. Jets are they're trying to get to the playoffs, right? I think they have the longest playoff drought in the league at this point. I think the last time they made it was 2010. It's the longest in the league by far. I think every other team's at least like the last 5 years. I think they've been in. So, got to make your run, right?
At some point, you got to put up or shut up, right? Like that's
sure. Got one more here. Miami Dolphins, who came out hot in this game. Ooh, that offense looked great. I was like, Tua's Drew Brees. There it is. I've been waiting to see this Drew Brees lefty, right? And they did look good early on, but then went stagnant, right? Didn't score points the rest of the game. So I don't know.
Dang field goal, and I would be a lot richer right now. Dang it. I'm still angry about that, still bitter about that. Fact of the matter is the Dolphins should have lost this game, right?
I agree.
The way they played, they just punted literally and, figuratively, meaning they just ran the ball up the gut even though it wasn't being effective. You have two of the best receivers against a bad defensive backfield. Throw the ball all day long.
Right.
Tua had 4 passes that should have been intercepted.
Yeah.
4. And that's just counting the ones that were in guys' hands and they dropped it or blooped it or whatever.
Agree,
so it was ugly. And the game ended on an interception by the rookie QB, right? Pickett with a pick. It was in the end zone. That's how close they came to losing this game. In the end zone, it took an interception by the Dolphins to not lose this game by a point because you didn't kick the dang field goal when you had the chance to go up by 2 scores. They should have lost.
That's true.
They should have lost.
It's true. I mean,
you can't coach.
They scored 13 points early, and that they had a really great game plan early on. It was fast. Tua was getting rid of the ball fast. Like, okay, he doesn't want a concussion anymore. Like get rid of the ball fast, right? It works. And then after that, nothing. The rest of the game was nothing, right? It was no scoring. I think there's 3 points in the second quarter. And you're right. Tua made a lot of bad throws that should have been picked, but he lucked out. But still,
defense and
for a game where your team, the Steelers gave up 3 turnovers and the Dolphins gave up none, this should have been a much better score for the Dolphins, right? They should have been up by a lot more points than 6 and 16 overall. So yeah, they got to, again, I'll say it again, they got to get better on offense. You can't have 3 quarters of football with no score. You're not going to win a lot of games like that, right? For the Steelers, Kenny Pickett looked decent. He's going to go through your pains, right? Your rookie quarterback, he's throwing the ball a ton. 44 attempts in this game. You gotta take your medicine, right? Personally, George Pickens is somebody you can rely on. I think.
Yeah.
Now you have a stacked receiver core here, and get Najee Harris more involved. He just
Najee doesn't look that great though. I mean, it could be the offensive line,
3.8 yards a carry.
Step back.
Gotta find ways to get him involved. I'm not sure what that means, but screen plays, get him involved in the passing game, but it just doesn't.
Pickens, though, man, he had the catch in the end zone, the only touchdown the Steelers had, and I mean, when I say toe tapped, I mean it looked like they originally called it out of bounds, but he caught it, got 1 foot in, and literally touched his toes to get the other foot in, and it was a thing of beauty. Like he's going to be making some stupendous catches in the NFL for years to come.
I think you have one receiver too many there, right? You got Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. George Pickens looks like somebody who's going to be part of the future there. So is one of them expendable? I think is another storyline.
Yeah, they're going to be trading guys. So
yeah.
Claypool has been a lot about him too. But
trade deadline coming up.
To trade Claypool. I don't think they want to trade him.
I wouldn't want to, but I mean, they're not going to win a lot of games this year, I feel like.
You have to realize, and obviously there's a lot that goes into it from the GM standpoint of which guys are you going to extend, what's your cap.
It's almost like the Tennessee movie. You're going to trade somebody you don't have to pay to get a young receiver you can lock up for 4 or 5 years.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's a cap move, and it's just too logical to pass up. Currently, Bears are up 10 on New England. End of the first quarter here, the last 2 minutes of the first quarter. What's your predictions for the game? We'll get out of here.
Go Bears. That's my prediction. I hope New England loses everything plus.
Yep.
So give me the Bears all the way.
Mac Jones back.
Mac Jones is playing in this game. He's 2 for 3 for 1 yard.
Okay,
so
good.
Bears
let's solve that problem.
New England's defense is good. Not an exciting game to watch, right? Not an exciting game to watch. They're both defensive-minded teams. If you like defense, I guess is a good game to watch. But I did not expect a lot of points to be scored. And running backs, right? Both running backs, or all the running backs here, are going to get a lot of action. So boring NFL game by my standard.
Yeah. I like watching Tyquan Thornton. The guy's just he's a crazy athlete, right? He's so fast. So he's one player I do like to watch for New England. Outside of that, boring football. Anyway, what do you think about Justin Fields?
I mean, we know we've already said everything we need to say about him. This team is not evaluating him the right way yet because he doesn't have the pieces around him that he needs to succeed, right? You can't just say, okay, we're going to throw you out there. And, we know that the weapons of receivers you have are not elite level wide receivers who can help you do things. We know our offensive line isn't necessarily the best offensive line that can protect you to see what you can really be capable of. But he's winning games, right? They've got a few wins this year. They're winning this one now. Granted, there's still a lot of game left. Man, if they could win this and go 3-4, that's better than I projected them to be at this point in the season.
Fair point. And New England, that they lose this one, they're going to be a couple games behind in all teams in the AFC East. So, the race is on in the AFC East. You got to keep up, right? And Chicago's a game they should win if they're going to be contenders for that. All right, thanks for tuning in. That's all we got. Week 7 in the books. Be sure to tune in with us now live on Thursdays for the NFL preview.
That's right.
And we'll get you ready for Week 8 of the NFL. Almost to the halfway point. Pretty hard to believe, but always fun, week in, week out.
Great football. Great football.
Always have a good time talking on the podcast. If you want to see something different, let us know. If there's something you like, let us know. Again, Sterling will be back with us next week on Monday Night Live, and we are now Thursday Night Live, 7:30 Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in. Feel free to buy us a beer. Yep, toss your hat in the ring. You can buy us a beer. Click on our link if you want to donate a beer.
Buy us a beer.
Try to put a lot of work into this, but sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, right? Anthony's picks are doing phenomenal.
Yeah, we're on fire. Still at 65% for the pick 6. That's incredible. I was over 500 again for all of my picks against the spread money line and over under for this week. So it's moving right along, man. You got to follow in for those. Hopefully you are. I should be getting comments like, "Oh man, we're doing great. Thanks for your picks." I'm loving it. Some people do, and I appreciate that because I'm trying to help you out. That's why I'm telling you my picks to begin with.
Yep, it's working out for me, but take your best bet it, and win money. Simple as that, right? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later.
Toss your hat in the ring, part 2.